Alright, in the last video we talked about how to handle things like doors, and I realized I made a bit of a kind of a mistake because we had this tile, or not a mistake per se, but like something a little bit weird, which was I thought that it would make sense to make this tile class and then have, instead of just like IDs at every location, we would have this tile struct, and it would tell us something about how the tile could be changed and things like that. So I think that will confuse things a little bit, having tiles that can change and stuff like that. It actually makes more sense, I think, to have like objects, or maybe not to confuse it with object oriented. Let's have an item. So we can have items, and we still need these tile IDs because those will be and of course it doesn't work. Yeah, so here it is, item. Okay. What was I saying? So I guess objects would be like something like these guys, or these that the player can interact with, or potions, or keys, things that can be interacted with or picked up. So in principle, even also these like braziers or whatever, they could also be items or objects. Now I'm thinking that maybe objects is pretty good. Or this ladder sprite could also be. Anyway, so what I was saying was those tile IDs will still be an ID into this tile map that I have here, but it won't refer to like being a tile. It will just be like tile map ID. Okay, so still we have active version. We still have a placement, and maybe we'll still have this item update function. Let's just try to go with that and see what happens. And here we can have tile is item, and it's also an item. It's also an item. It has to be called item now. Same here. Okay. See that it compiles, and of course it doesn't compile because I made some kind of oopsie. Item. Everything is an item, isn't it? Flip version, item test. Okay, so I need to do this so I can actually see what the damn errors are. Unknown type name, tile update function. Item update, so it's here. Item. Okay, compiles. So, what do I want to do? Let's start by adding support in the level data for items. I think that's a fine place to start. Well, maybe we'll start in the editor actually. So let's separate things out a little bit, like select the tile, that's tile stuff, tiles, collision, boxes, starting point, and here we have character stuff, and here we'll have items. So we should have is an item selected? What is the selected item? And I don't think creating a struct makes sense. Yeah, so we also have a problem with how do you kind of like generically define this update function. How do we define that in general? So we'll think about that. Here, let's just put an integer for like a tile ID. Well, here's another problem. How do we choose the... Maybe we'll do just something like where, okay, if you choose this one, then if you choose that one, the other item will be this door, or maybe that one. Or maybe that one. Because it's kind of like which way does it open, right? If you look at these, that's how I read it anyway. So maybe that doesn't matter so much. There's probably something not quite so well, like we almost want a scripting language for this. Because we also have these update functions, so I almost want to be able to say something like I don't know, item, and then yeah, you basically like specify it like this. And how do you specify the update function? I guess we would do something like not item, but not tile, but item, and then like we could even, since we're contemplating making a scripting language, we could even say something like flip active version. But that's a little bit, maybe we say if active version equals tile ID 1, then tile ID 2, else tile ID 1, and that's it. And then we could just input this in. There could be some kind of mode where, okay, I've placed an item that will kind of initialize a struct with some basic default values. For example, X and Y, which I don't want, and also tile ID 1, an active version, I suppose. X and Y I don't want to put in by hand. And then this function will just be some kind of stop. And then maybe you can like click it somehow. You click it, I don't know how. We'll do that. You click it and then you can edit it. You get like a text box that you can edit. Where you put in this stuff. And then, but then we have to pass this, and we have to, I guess we basically have to compile it. Or we just store it as like some interpreted code that we then interpret. Do we just store the text that we then interpret later? But that's also a bit crazy. You don't really want that. You don't really want that. So anyway, that's something to think about. Let's just make something now where we can go to a door and open it. I think that's a good place to start. So that means that these placed items we just give them a position and an ID for the first one, and the rest will fill out by some hard-coded means. We also need the number of items. And let's go to the editor. So now we have this draw tile selector thing. Here we are drawing the tiles. And now we have a special case where right now everything here is a tile, but we want, when we click some of them, for it to actually be an item. So let's start with this guy to make it simple. To find out what thing it is, I'm just going to do it like, and I shouldn't have done the grep. Let's get away with grep. So now we can click here, select tile 37. Okay. So maybe we'll just do like item IDs, and you know what, actually now we have a very good reason to use all of this stuff that I made here. We have some side doors. I'm not really sure why they are called. Here we have door 1, 2, 3. What could that be? I guess this is more like a hatch, but I called it a door for some reason. But whatever. Let us say item IDs, and for now it's just going to be tile door 1 and tile door 2. And this has to be an array. And now we'll say if array contains, and it's the item IDs, and if it contains I, then we'll do some item code, otherwise we'll do this kind of stuff. Whoops. Go back. And we'll need some kind of array contains, which is a bit annoying, but we'll do like this. Great. We just loop through and check each item sequentially. So here we'll say editor selected tile, and we don't really have a boolean like we do for the other ones, which is it's a bit weird. And this one should be false, and this should be item selected is true, selected item is I, and that is it. So now we know how to select an item. Let's go to draw edited room, and if we click somewhere, let's make some kind of like headers, tile placement, collision box placement, and item placement. We should also have character placement. And that's something else. Okay, so we go here to item placement. And if editor item selected, then we're going to do some stuff. What are we going to do? We are going to check if there already is an item. Okay, so check if there already is an item. Let's see if we can get Copilot to do it, because it's very similar. And now it's removing the item. I actually don't want that, but maybe we can say if control pressed, then we will actually go on and remove it. And so anyway, if there isn't an item, we're gonna place an item, and increment this guy. So let's see if that works. It doesn't work. It has no, because we call it placed items. You know what? Let's call it items. And that also has a problem. So it's saying, there's also a warning that I just noticed, which is this thing. Let's say item IDs contains, and we'll remove this, and we can do a little bit of for loop here. So that should work. And here we can say item IDs contains, and we'll make that size T. There's way too many warnings. I should really fix that. Right, so down here in item placement, there's no X and Y, rather that is 1 and 2, and 0 is editor selected item. Quite similar to this stuff. And that one I guess is okay. Let's try to do it here. Editor items.x. Still not. And this you're not allowed to do, so let's add some stuff here, namely 0, and 0, and a couple of more times. Okay, so now it's running. So now I should be able to place these. So there's no selected item, which is correct, but I also cannot place it. And why is that? So let's say item selected, and we should have done it in here so we can actually see the output right away. So there is an item selected and also an item selected. I know why. It's because we do place the items, but we don't draw them. So I think they should be drawn here. Draw items. And let's see if Copilot can figure it out. We loop over items. We get the ID, we get the X and Y. If the ID is -1, I don't know, maybe. Do this stuff, set the width, and why is there division by 7 here? It should just be 10. And that will do it. I think it will not do it. And we don't need that. That was a mistake. Okay. Items texture. That's the problem, because it's just the tile set texture still. There was more than that. And here we chose to call it items instead, but it forgot about that. Now I place items. And if I control click, I place it, and Great. Let's remove the printf again. So now we can place items and we can actually see where we placed them. The last thing that remains is to fix this function where we put the items into the game state, the level data rather. So we need to add some items here. So we have tiles again, we have collision boxes, we have this starting point, entity is number dead, debug mode. So let's go here and say tiles, items. And now I think we want this struct. Now we want this struct. So I am going to take this stuff and put it here. So it's declared before the level. Still a little bit janky that we don't use proper build system, and everything is basically one big C file because we include everything, but don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. We will fix it later. So now it can contain them. So let's put them in there. And probably we need to do something here. So we have to say if level data items, free those items. And in the demo room, we're doing a lot of stuff. Let's also do something with items. Namely this. See if it runs, still runs, and you can play, and everything's great. So now, transfer items. We malloc some stuff, and then we loop over the things. And here is where it breaks down. So we need an item, which is an item, which is also called item, and it will have a tile ID 1. Now that is going to be editor items 0. Tile ID 2 is going to be something, which we'll get to. So let me put this. Active version will be this stuff, and X will be that, Y will be that, and update function will be something. Okay. So here is where things get weird. But in the interest of just getting things working, let's do this thing. So editor, items 0, we're going to switch on that, and if it is whatever it was, item IDs, if it is tile door 1, we're going to do one thing. If it's tile door 2, we're going to do another thing. And the default is maybe that will just be tile ID 2 is editor. Well, maybe it could be -1. I'm actually not too sure. Well, we need to do the draw code later, so anyway. Right, so tile if it's number 1, so let's look at the assets, character and tile set, dungeon tile set, and we have to do auto zoom. So if it's this guy, we actually want 1 down and 1 over. So and same for that one, 1 down and 1 over. maybe I could just keep this open. That means actually for both cases we're gonna say tile ID2 equals editor items yeah. Honestly, not really the right way to do it, but I'm just gonna try to get it to work now. And what's the update function? What is the update function? Yeah, so this is where like I'm not sure how to do it, but what we can do is we can just define some functions that we are allowed to use. So let's say item update function, and we're gonna call it swap active version, and it's gonna be item, not that. So if item active version equals item active version, sorry, not active version, but rather tile ID1. There we go. And this guy is gonna be a swap active version. And now we can basically define a bunch of things like this. We have no scripting language or anything like that, but that's fine for now. And potentially we could define all the pairs of versions like this, but probably that's not too nice in the long run. Okay, let's see if it runs. It does not run because level data.items. Right, so this is what we're trying to fix all along. Do this and we copy everything over. And now I think we're happy. Still not happy. Update function. What exactly is the matter? Right, it's because you have to do this. So now we can try to run the code, and it worked. So now we can transfer items to the level, but the level is still not doing anything with it. So here where we draw the level, we need to do something. We need to say draw level, so we draw the tiles and then we draw the entities, and here we should draw items. And here we go. We don't need that, and we don't need that. It's item I, and then we can just say tile ID1, how convenient. And actually we kind of just want the active version. And then the position is rather something like this. Something like this. And just do this. Now here we can also have the interaction code here. I'm not sure where we will have interaction code in general. But here it is for now. And we're gonna say, we'll actually need the player position in that case. But maybe it's nice to have it over like one loop, so we don't have two loops over all the items. So anyway, let's put in the player What is the player? The player is just an entity, but really it should be just the player, and actually it should be by a pointer, because sometimes when you interact with an item, the player will change. The player will, for example, get some items. If the player is close to the item, make it interactive. That's not a word. I think make it interactive. Maybe it is a word. I don't know, whatever. So how should we do this? Basically, close meaning if the player is on an adjacent tile. I think that's a good start anyway. So I want to do if player, let's do if is adjacent and player position, and that's a bit weird, so let's do it like this: player entity position.y. This has to be that, and this has to be that, and spacebar. We should also like standardize these key mappings. And this should not be pressed, it should be released, so it only happens once, and it shouldn't be space. For now it will be R, which is weird, but bear with me. Then we call the update function on the item itself, and this stuff can go away. Now we need an isAdjacent function, and we take the absolute difference, and if the absolute difference is exactly 1, I think that's all right. It doesn't run because we need to add the player to the level. So we're going to say state player, and I suppose do like that. Okay, here we go. Let's add an item, it's transferred, and now we go here. So you can see it's drawn. We don't have any indication of when it's interactable, but I can, shit. Okay, so R is used for something else. So why don't we use T? No, that's also something. How about, how do I get out of this? Okay, how about F? F is not used. So we're going to use that. So I go here, here's an item, transfer it, go back. Right, so I can restart the level, whatever. And now I can try to interact. Nothing happens when I'm out here, but when I'm close to it, it can open and close. Very cool. Super cool. Now there's actually one last thing we should do, which is that you can just walk through the door. We should also fix the editor so we can actually see what we have chosen here. Oh, that's not what I meant. That's an issue. That is an issue in the editor, which is if we select the tile, we should also do this. So really we want to do a function like deselect everything. Maybe we'll call it editor deselect everything. It will take an editor and it will do this. And here we'll say editor deselect everything. And then that is fixed. And then we can do that here and this. So let me see if that works. Okay, I can do that. I can do this. And I can go back and click again. Didn't work. Damn it. Because it doesn't have the item thing. So editor, item selected, false. Let's try again. So I can select this guy, draw. I can select this guy, draw. And then back here, great. And we also need one other thing, which is when we clear the editor, we have to clear items. So let's do that and set the number of items to 0. And this is again just called items. Great. Let's try to draw a level to just show what I mean. So we do like that. It's a bit annoying. It's a bit annoying. So actually, editor, deselect everything. I don't want the collision boxes to be unselected, but here I do want this. Okay, editor, how do I? Okay. So here we have a small map. And there is some doors. And let's also put down some nice floors. And one more door. So here I am. Okay, I cannot walk through the walls. That's pretty good. But I can go here. I can open the doors. Amazing. But I can also just walk through the doors. So we want to fix that. And the way we set it up now, the most natural way is to have like is collidable, collidable, maybe like that. Yeah, weird naming, but sorry. And then maybe we'll need another type of update function that is not just swap active version, but also collision. So if the active version is, maybe we'll just do this, yeah, exactly. And then to make it more clear, let's call it and collision. So we'll say swap active version and collision. And it starts out as being collidable. Okay. That poses another problem, which is how do we check for this collision? So let's see how we do it normally. I think we actually do it in animate, as weird as it sounds. But let's do, how do we do that? So one way we can do it is to go on the level data, which has the collision boxes. We can provide it with, instead of a vector, we can do collision box and collision box. And instead of just a position, we could also give it this is active. And then when we make the item, it will remember the location of the collision box in here. I think that's a pretty decent way to do it, and it keeps the collision logic in like one place. And it also lets us add more things. So let's do this. And then we need to go in the demo room. Collision boxes, size of collision box. And of course, now we have to kind of do this thing. Well, let me do this. And here, collision boxes, and it's going to be collision boxes dot, well, it's still going to be I actually. Okay, so we need a kind of a macro, I guess. So let's go forward to that one, and let's say dot position. And then we will search for collision box, and that's it, that's the macro. Right, let's see if it compiles. It's not going to compile for sure, because we also need to now change how this stuff works. Scale, animate, draw level. Update player, that's actually where it is. So let's have a look at collision boxes. It's going to be position, and we can already say if not is dead but is active, I suppose. If it's not active, we just skip it, and that gives me another thing to worry about, which is for int I 0, I less than, set them as active. Still doesn't compile because inside update stuff, which is in the controls, of course, we are looking at the collision boxes. So the player, that's kind of weird, but entities, they have their own collision box. Okay, great. Great. And we're just, okay, so here it is. Update collision box dot position. And here we'll say if it's not active, we just skip it. And otherwise we do all this stuff. Let's see now where the compiler errors are. Item update function, swap active. For some reason I completely fucked that up. So swap active version and collision. Let's run this thing. And level data.collision boxes equals editor.collision boxes. That of course does not work. So we'll go here, create level data. Okay, so for int I equals 0, I less than editor dot and collision, is that what it's called? So we have to go here, editor, collision boxes, I++, and it's gonna be position is that thing, yes, and also is it active? Yes, it is active. So here we run it again, and for some reason, wait, what was there before? Did I just mess something up? It's just a number. Yes, okay, whatever. There we go. No, one more time. So here we assign the thingy, and here we assign the other thingy. Okay, now it compiles. Still no collision box. Because in the tile, we're actually gonna have a collision box pointer, and that should point into this thing. So that means, let's separate this out with the collision boxes now, because actually this is also, okay, that's not nice, but that is not nice. I'm going to do it, but I don't like it. And now for the items. We're going to have plus, well, let's just make offset here. And it's going to be plus the offset. Plus the offset. And it's really going to be items I 0 let's see if we can get this to make sense. Okay, so now we have added some extra collision boxes for the use of the items. And here we can say not escalatable, but collision box is the pointer to the level data, collision boxes, I plus offset. And just to make it a little bit less fragile, perhaps, I'm gonna do that. Right, and now when we go up here and we swap things, we're actually gonna say, actually look at the collision box that's belonging to me, and then swap the activeness of that thing. See if it compiles. It doesn't compile, and because in entity, no, sorry, where did I, okay, it's in level. There's a collision box is active. Somewhat confused about what the problem is. A request is in something not a structure or a union. What? What? So it probably has to do with how things are defined. Indeed. So this is using collision box, which means it has to be, but also, do I have some kind of circular thing now? Because, yeah, so this item stuff actually has to be exactly here, I think, in the declaration thingy. Okay, put that down and go here. Still doesn't have a collision box. Why is that? Well, let me try something. We run it, we place it, and now what happens if we open it? Nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Did I break the other collision boxes? That is a good question. Though, whoa, okay. Now nothing happened. Spooky. Spooky, spooky, spooky. Let's go back in the editor. Create level data. Here is the collision stuff. Collision stuff. There's only one S. All right, number of collision boxes, this many, and these guys. And you know what? Let's set this thing to false, because then down here we're gonna say item.collisionBox is active equals true. In this case, but there's only one case right now, which is this freaking door. So what is going wrong? I do have this debug thing. Let's try that. So I can press T and it will. So it does see that there is some kind of collision box. Active collision boxes. And I need to run it over here. Okay, let's press G. You know what? I bet it's placed the wrong place. So what is this X and Y? It is simply as it should be. Collision box, and it thinks here we go, and there's a couple of, there's one too many of these. Still I need to run it here. Okay. And also one more thing is, let's say here, printf player position. Great. Now I can go here. Okay, so my player position is 5-5. The collision box is way over here for some reason. Fantastic. And if I go and interact with it, then there's no longer an active collision box, which is good. But why is it all the way over there? Why is it all the way over there? So when we are creating them, we're saying item, because it's not 0, it's 1, and this one is 2. I predict now it will work. Indeed, I cannot walk through the door. I can open it. If I really try very hard, I can open it. So maybe that makes it clear that is adjacent needs some work. So how about we say that this one is actually less than or equal to 0.5. Let's put down a door. And now it seems to be working. I wish it was working. I can easily close it from this side and from down here. It's a bit funny actually. I didn't intentionally program this, but you can kind of walk down. It's a bit weird actually. If you're inside the door and you close it, you can walk down, you cannot walk up. Let's not worry about that. Unless you're like already a bit... So why can't I close it from up here? That's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. Let's try again, not with this one, but with this one. So that should be very interactable, but it's not. So what I want to do is just do some debug here to see. No, actually, that's, I don't want to do that. Just for now. And here we can replace level with game state.level. And so we don't draw the tile, but we find all this stuff, and then we're going to say, actually, this stuff I don't need. This stuff I don't need. I just want to see if we're adjacent. Is adjacent. And I think it's like that. So let's do item %d. And still I need to go over here. Okay. There we go. Is adjacent 0, is adjacent 1. Now here it's 0, which I don't get. So how about we go to this guy, we go here, and we also print f, and this is gonna be, hold on a second. Oh, I think that's could be the problem. Let's do like that. And go away. Great, so now I'm here and we can open it from up here. We can just open it when we're kind of close. Nice. Okay, I think that's gonna do it for this video. It was actually quite long, but we got basic item stuff working. So I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.